morning. Wow. All right. Well, all month we've been talking about painting a new picture, and all month we've been talking about prosperity principles, spiritual principles, universal laws that work in our life, both for the individual and collective perspective. So this morning I'm gonna share with you how to guarantee your prosperity. Would you like to guarantee that? Like 100% guarantee? Yeah, and we've been talking about what is this thing called prosperity. I really invite each and every one of you to come up with your own definition. I don't know, most of y'all, in fact, pretty much all of you, got an email this past week, and we gave a gift. It was a reprise of Edwin Gaines' talk. She is just a hoot, okay? And if you didn't get that email or you didn't watch it, go back. I invite you. I did that yesterday. It's called Permanent Prosperity, Edwin Gaines, on our YouTube channel. You want to check that out. And she talks about her definition of prosperity. And it's a good one. I've modified it just a couple of words, but it's basically when each of us are vitally aligned and we're vibrant and we're strong and we're healthy in our bodies and our lives. Yes? Whew, that's so important. That we're in relationships, all different types of relationships that bring us joy and peace and happiness. Yes? Yeah, I like that one. And that we're each doing the work that we love so much it feels like it's child's play. Yes? Okay. And then all the money we care to spend and give away. Yes? Okay. Well, I like that definition. And so what are the activities, what are the practices that we could each do to guarantee that we live a prosperous life? And it's really about, as we completely align ourselves with the way that life itself truly is, when we're in alignment with the way that life itself truly is, well, we're guaranteed to have that kind of experience that life itself has all the time. Which, if you think about it, life itself, the universal presence, the all in all and be all, that's pretty cool to think about that. Yes? Yeah. I don't know why I'm on the yeses this morning, but yes. And Ernest Holmes tells us that life is the eternal givingness. Like, it's eternal. It doesn't stop. It's the offering of the cosmic self to the joy of its own fulfillment. I just love that. This cosmic self to the joy, it just offers itself to itself all the time. It's like, here I am. Take this. This is me. And you and I, he says, are part of this joy, and we each find fulfillment only as this joy passes through us to others. And he also says, which is significantly important, is everything moves in circles, right? It's the circle of life. For all you Lion King fans, you know, everything, or Emerson fans, everything moves in circles. And he says, we short circuit our own good when we refuse to pass it on. That's why I came up with this be love, pass it on, right? We've got to be it. And we've got to pass it on. And this givingness, this eternal giving, if we think about life itself, giving is not just about money. It's not. It is a process that may involve money, but it also involves our work and where we're in service, whether we get paid for it or not, and in many ways in which we each make contact with life, right? And in this book that I keep pulling from, which I will again today, Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth, he says that giving is basically an attitude in which we each touch things. How are we each touching things in our lives? I just love that. Reach out and touch someone. Reach out and touch something. Reach out and touch some situation, some circumstance. How are we touching things? Because that's giving. Ernest Holmes, our founder of Science Mind, also says we should give of ourselves in love and in service to others, in the spirit of generosity. So it's also about the spirit in which we give, not out of obligation, not out of, well, I ought to do this. It's the spirit. And to refuse to give is to refuse to receive. Again, back to the circle of life. So if I refuse to give, then I'm already saying I refuse to receive anything. For again, everything moves in circles. So real giving is the givingness of the self. When we give, we're just giving the self, our self, this individualized self, which is actually expression of the whole self, of life itself, doing its thing because it eternally gives to itself unabashedly, all the time. And we can do this, kind words, thoughtful acts, perhaps a smile. We don't know, as we give of ourselves to someone, how that might save a life, touch a life, transform a life, give to a life in a way we may never know. But that giving of ourselves in all the various ways we can does have impact and does transform. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone? Let's say you're trying to get someone excited about a project. You really have a great idea about this project and you want to do it. And you're talking about it and you're wanting to engage this person in the yes, right? And get excited. And have you ever heard yeah, but what's in it for me? Yeah, I see a few heads. I know you're shaking it at home too. This what's in it for me. Many people come from that place. It's well, what's in it for me? Now, a lot of us don't come from that place. It's not like, well, how can I give more to my job, my relationships, my friends, all of that. But other people will say, yeah, but how do I get mine? So that brings us to there really sort of are two types of people. They're the givers and the takers. Do you know some givers in your life? Good. Participation everywhere is wanted. Anybody know the takers in their life? Yeah. The takers are the people who believe that their lives will always be the total of what they can get from the world. And they pretty much think in the terms of get. What can I get? Now, just as sort of Daniel was sharing, it's like, but no matter what they take, they can never know the peace or the security or the fulfillment. But on the other hand, as he was sharing, the givers, on the other hand, the people that know that life itself is truly a giving process, then what happens is, as we are the givers in life, we are secure. Because we know intuitively that life flows always from within. Always from within. And so how can I choose to invest myself in the next thing, in the next situation, the next person, the next smile, whatever it is? How can I invest myself? Because as I invest myself, I'm investing it for the all of life itself. And all of life benefits. Now, Eric Butterworth has some good stuff in this book, I'm telling you. You definitely want to get your copy, and if you already have one, pull it out, dust it off, read it again. I keep inviting everybody to do that this month because I'm also teaching this class, and it's really profound. And he says, now, I'm going to pull a couple of biblical phrases today, but there is such sacred wisdom in our sacred texts that we can pull from. And there's one particular phrase in the Christian religion that's touted a lot. But I'm gonna put it in a different perspective. Some of you might recognize this particular phrase. It's from John 3:16. So he says that the most important aspect of John 3:16 is, "For God so loved the world that he gave." Period. Just end it right there. For God so loved the world that he or she gave, right? It gave. So God is this divine givingness of the universe, and you are created in the image likeness of this divine givingness. You cannot make any sense out of life or realize the free flow of substance in your experience until you begin to see yourself as a giver. It may mean a complete turnaround in your approach to life where you think give instead of get. In your spiritual quest, you're seeking to establish yourself in an intuitive relationship with the divine flow. That is the goal of our life, right? You can never really achieve this level of consciousness until giving becomes the main thrust of your life. And when it does, when you discover the wonder of giving, you become unblushingly, I love this, an incurable giver. Meditate long on this point, he says, for it is one of the most important keys of the prosperity law. So again, God, Spirit, the universal presence is this divine givingness of the universe. It does unabashedly give to itself. Think of it. The song of the bird just gives it away. Just sings it all the time, right? The bodies of water just gives itself to everything that it touches. Trees just gives of its all of its properties, its shade, its everything, food for many animals. Just just think of the trees. It just gives and it gives and it gives. The flowers gives of its fragrance, of its beauty. So all of life expresses itself in this giving. There's one more thing that I wanted to share from the book this morning that Butterworth gives us. And he says, if you discover the wonder of giving, you will find a great blessing of inner fulfillment in your work, which will lead to better work, and by the law of causation, to a greater experience of affluence, which may come through your job or through many different channels. The law is exact. So here's the circle again. If you give, really work in a giving consciousness, you must receive. If you at this point still ask the question, what's in it for me, then you are being grossly underpaid. I heard it in the room. Even if your salary is 6 figures, if all you get out of your work is a paycheck, you are shortchanging yourself. If all I get out of my work is a paycheck, boy, have I shortchanged myself, and boy, have I shortchanged everybody I know that's attached to this community. So it's the law of circulation, this giving and receiving. And we are to let this law of circulation play in our life. So you want to guarantee prosperity, become a committed giver. A committed giver is an incurably happy person, a secure person, a satisfied person, and a prosperous person. Okay, and then I'm going to talk about something else. I want to talk about bicycle riding. Anybody ever ride a bike in their life? Okay, what are the rest of y'all doing? I want you to think back to possibly how you started riding a bike or help a child or a grandchild or something. Bicycle riding is based on the law of balance, working with the law of inertia, okay? So we've got the law of balance and inertia. And most of us, I know I did, started with training wheels. Do you remember training wheels? They still sell them in stores. Imagine that. They're these training wheels. But the training wheels have nothing to do with the laws by which the bicycle is propelled. It's simply to help the rider experience the working of the law and to experience the joy of riding a bike. Okay? Anybody still ride a bike? Participation's welcome all everywhere. Okay. Is there anybody here that still has their training wheels on their bike? What's wrong with y'all? Right? Me neither, okay? Not on that nice Cannondale. No training wheels on it. So I want to talk about sacred giving. There is another word for that, but I just don't use it much because I know we've had so many people that just like, ugh, and then actually lose out on the benefit of this practice. It's called tithing. I said it. But sacred giving of a level at 10%. Okay? It's actually training wheels. Many people think that it's the end result, like that's where I end up. When I reach that, man, I've reached it all. It's actually intended to be training wheels, so it's not an end, but a helpful means towards the end of living in total giving consciousness. So it's a training wheel. It's a process that one can start themselves in on this giving way to this divine flow. So it's a way in which we can each get into this giving consciousness. But I want to say it's not in substitute for the giving attitude. So it's giving and the attitude in which we give it. Again, it's not like, well, I have to give it. Just don't. Don't do it. Just don't even start. It's the attitude in which we do it. So you ever hear about people wanting to start to learn how to do meditation? Usually say, well, start with 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. That's a great place to start. Start there. Start at 20 minutes. How about working out at the gym and getting one's body in shape? Well, start with 20 to 30 minutes of cardio. Just, start. And I have to say, especially after this recent bout with COVID that I got, I don't think I'm going to start with 20 minutes when I get back on that bike. I'm going to start where I can, right? But I'm going to start, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be 20 minutes meditation, but that's sort of the training wheels that we start with. It doesn't necessarily have to be 30 minutes cardio when you really want to get your body in shape, but that's where you start with. But we start where we can. But remember, it's a starting point. But I don't tend to just stay at 20 minutes of meditation. I want to grow my meditation practice. I don't just, work out cardio for 20 minutes for the rest of my life or weightlifting for the rest of I want to grow in that. This is the truth of this sacred giving of 10%. That's why it's talked about, because it has such great effects in our lives, through our lives, within our lives, and for our lives. I want to tell you about this guy that I knew several years ago in my prior spiritual community when I was teaching a prosperity class, and I was talking about this topic of sacred giving of 10%. He took a leap of faith. He had never done it before, and because of that, he decided, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna start giving away 10% of what comes into me. And I knew him over a few years, and I watched how his life dramatically changed. And he would say, oh my gosh, this is really incredible. I got new jobs and opportunities. I got the house of my dream for my family. Everything was going. And then at some point, I don't know what caused it, but at some point, some income went down. Okay, went down after, a larger mortgage and all that. And I'll never forget this. He told me, he said, and I've got to pull back on my giving to where I'm spiritually fed. And I immediately thought, oh no. And I even said, don't do that. You can't not afford to do that. And it wasn't, but very short time, it just got worse and worse and worse. And I had a prior career before being a minister, a spiritual leader, and that was in executive sales, which never had a ceiling on what I could earn. There was never a cap. It was just like, as much as I intended and wanted to, I did. And when I came here in Dallas, something after 23 years happened. I became a salaried employee. Or, I became salaried here. And I remember that I thought, oh my gosh, how is this going to work out? Because it was a third of what I was used to making. And I'm like, how is this going to work out? And I almost fell into the trap, into that hole, that same hole. And I went, oh, no. I have to keep my sacred giving and grow it even more. And so I did when I got here. And a couple of years into here, as most of you know, when Peter and I fell in love and we became a committed couple and got married here, well, she's a sacred giver of at least 10%. I'm a sacred giver of at least 10%. And now we're together combined. And we give almost 20% of what comes in away. And I have never felt more prosperous in my life. I go on trips, get to do things I've always dreamed of, and even paid cash for our cabin in the woods because we grew in this, right? It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So I'm going to bring one more because this one is talked a lot, and I want to try to explain it just a little bit from our perspective. Another biblical verse that's mentioned a lot is Malachi 3:10. And I pulled out the New International Version. There's so many different versions of this, but I like this one. It says, bring the whole tithe, bring this sacred giving into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. And it says, test me on this. So the universal presence is saying, test me. Put it to a test. And see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much of a blessing that there will not be enough room to store it in your life. Now, in the King James Version, it says, prove me now. In this version, it says, right? It says, test me in this. So the way that this works is like the storehouse is where the food is kept, right? And so where are we each fed spiritually? Where are we spiritually fed? That's what it means, to give our gift where we're spiritually fed. And that causes us to remember who we are. It's that leap of faith. It's that I know that I have more than enough. It's sort of like at the table. Have you ever been at the table at with 9 people and you start looking around and you go, how am I going to get my turkey tonight? There's a lot of us and not enough turkey. What starts happening? I better get mine first. It's Thanksgiving. What about there aren't enough biscuits on the table? How am I going to get my biscuit? I better get mine first. What if it's like there's more than enough? And I give you my biscuit. Something really spectacular is going to happen. We do that every time we have an event here and we look around and go, there's not enough food. There ends up being so much more than enough. I press upon this each year because this is the most significant thing to guarantee prosperity in our life. I'm living proof of it, and many people are. So I want to invite someone up to also share, because one day she heard Edwin Gaines, or I don't know, she's going to share what happened. But I invite Kia Tillman up to share something with each of you. Hi, Kia. Here's a microphone. Oh, you want to stand there? That's cool. Yeah, that's good. Podium's good.
Hi.
Say hi to Kia.
Hi, I'm Kia Tillman, and I stood up on this platform a few years ago and said that I started tithing, and it was because of that talk that Edwin Gaines gave and that I listened to. And since then, my life has been perfect. I live happily ever after in the end. No, that is not what happened. That was not my experience. But what did happen is that no matter what circumstances were put in front of me, I had a community to support me, and I had the tools and the knowledge to handle it successfully. So back in December, when I was doing a routine health check and came back, I found out that I had not only high blood pressure, but also high blood sugar. And my old story would have sent me into a spiral of shame. How could I let this happen? What did I do wrong? Why do I deserve this? But when I got those results, my only response was, I need to do something about this. And I took action. And everything around me fell into place that I needed to make the changes in my life that could help me with this. So I found a perfect doctor, I found a perfect trainer, I found a perfect health coach. Even a low-cost gym opened up 5 minutes away from where I live. So all of these things just fell into place, and within a few months, all of my test results were back to normal. And last year, I entered into a relationship with a partner who I thought was going to be my forever partner. We were very much in love, and things were going great, and things just didn't work out. And old me would have just been, see, I'm not good enough. I would have slipped back into that old story. But new me still has a good relationship with him. New me still has a friendship with him. New me knows that dating is fun. And I'm exploring all the possibilities out there. And if you know anybody, just let me know. And I know that I'm enough, because this is the place where I learned I am whole, perfect, and complete. And there is nothing that I need to do to change that. And last year, a really dear friend of mine, somebody that I've been friends with for 25 years, somebody I considered a dear mentor of mine, passed away. And this community was right here to support me through that. And I learned here that good must come of this. And I never asked her for anything, but she was so kind to leave me in her will. And she left me a very substantial gift. And the very first thing I did with that money was tithe back to this community, because this is a community where I'm spiritually fed. And a few years ago, I said that CSLDallas reminds me of that old adage, if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day, but if you teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. And CSLDallas is where I am learning to become a master fisherwoman. And I give because I want everybody to learn the things that I've learned, to be able to master this life so easily, full of ease and grace like I am. And that's why I give. Thank you.
So I'm going to end on this last quote from Ernest Holmes that I really like so much. Real giving is the art of transmitting ourselves to others and to the conditions and situations that surround us. This kind of giving is not something for special occasions only, for it should become a habit growing out of our desire to live life to the fullest extent. Only that which becomes an inward habit of thought can spontaneously flow from the heart and transmit itself to everything we touch. Just as life belongs to the one who lives it, to the one who takes it, so the fuller life belongs only to the one who scatters every good one has. Want to guarantee prosperity? Let's scatter ourselves everywhere and leave our mark, because life itself does everywhere it goes.
So as Daniel and Cindy said, this is our opportunity for Pledge Sunday. And it's always an interesting thing, right? Many of you come from other spiritual traditions. Perhaps you come from other spiritual communities, and there's always this suspicion that churches talk about prosperity so that you'll give us money. And I want to make a distinction because, no, we talk about pledging so that you'll give us money. We talk about prosperity principles because it's one of the laws of the universe, and it's one of the ways in which we support you and empower all of us to have a greater life. It is because we are able to give that we are able to actually create a world that works for everyone, not just lives that work for ourselves. And yet the other side of that coin is that we are supporting each other's spiritual growth with what it is that we give to this spiritual community. So your pledge is what you promise to give to CSLDallas. Your tithe is your commitment to your spiritual practice of sacred giving. We hope that you are spiritually fed here at CSLDallas, that you will choose to tithe here. That is your choice. And that is your sacred giving. That's your sacred giving practice. What we do ask you to do is pledge. Because the pledges are what allows us, as Cindy said earlier so beautifully, to continue doing what we do, providing opportunities like Daniel and Cindy and Kia shared with us today, and the other testimonials that you've received. So the pledge cards are being passed out. Because one of the things that we hear at the end of the pledge program is people that are very committed to this community, and they're like, I left it at home on the kitchen table. I didn't do it. I forgot. So this is, and as Daniel said, if you're brand new, if you're a visitor, you're really new to this community, you're new to us online, of course this isn't for you. This is for people who consider CSLDallas their spiritual home and the place that they're spiritually fed. If that's true for you, then we invite you to join us. Every pledge counts. Now, while the pledge cards are being passed out here, for those of you online, I invite you right now to go onto your browser and to go to CSLDallas.org/pledge. And that's going to bring up our online pledge card so you can participate in this opportunity for sacred giving right now. So go ahead and go to CSLDallas.org/pledge while we have physical pledge cards in the room. Now, before you begin filling out your pledge card, and while your pledge card is loading online, I'm going to invite you just to take a moment to just close your eyes. Just for a moment. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to reflect on something that you have received from CSLDallas in your spiritual journey. One insight that you got in a class. One spiritual mind treatment that you got from a practitioner. One hug that you got at the door. One celebration that you received while we were online together about something that TSRW in your life. One time someone virtually with a card or with a hand lifted you up. Maybe you were like me and you cried when you first found CSLDallas. Or you found metaphysical teachings. When you felt like you belonged. Or your life mattered. And now I want you to imagine all the people that are sitting in this room. All the people that are online listening to us today, being with us right here, or who will tune in throughout the week. All our kids in Joy Village. You don't pledge to an organization. We're simply the stewards of the money you give us. You pledge to each other. So if you have received any of those things from CSL Dallas, or you would like to make certain that any of those things are available tomorrow for the next new person that walks through the doors, I'm going to invite you now to fill out your pledge card. If you are here in the sanctuary, to fill it out right now so that you can drop it in the basket. If you're online, to fill out that pledge card. Every pledge counts. No matter how big or small, every pledge makes a difference. Your promise to give to this community, we promise back to be the best stewards that we know how to be, so that you and we as a community together serve each other truthfully, so we can serve the world. We seek to put our own masks on, our oxygen masks on first, not because we're better, not because it's all about us, but because when we have our own oxygen masks on, it makes it possible for us to turn to our neighbor who may be struggling with theirs and help them put their oxygen mask on. Maybe we'll help invent a whole new way for people to find oxygen masks. Maybe we'll lift the world in such a way that oxygen masks are no longer needed. So here at CSL Dallas, we learn to put our oxygen mask on first so that we can give our gift to the world. And so as you are completing your pledge card, know that your promise makes a difference. Your pledge makes a difference. And know that we know that as you maintain that pledge and are committed to your sacred giving, that your life unfolds, and truly in miraculous ways, supported, fulfilled, and with a greater contribution to be able to be made in every way. As Kia said, does that mean you'll live happily ever after? Probably not. But we'll walk through the barriers and over the boulders and through the valleys, and together we'll share the peaks with joy. And CSL Dallas will always be here. Thank you.